Good morning, good afternoon, parents. I am creating a second video today in regard to student work in Canvas. Now, I'm going to be focusing on social studies today. And the main reason I'm focusing on social studies is that we've had a serious lack of work completion. And I think a big part of this has to do with the fact that social studies work is going to be about 70% independent. And because students are given the task and the responsibility of completing this independently, a lot of students are choosing to either not complete it or not follow the instructions when completing those assignments, which of course is affecting their grades. So I'm at the homepage for social studies. This looks almost exactly like the reading homepage. I have my name, number, contact information, Zoom information for myself, Coach Leonard, and Miss Dennis in case you're ever in need of that as well. Down here is also going to be the class schedule. Okay, and I'll go ahead and open that up real quick. So we have talked about the first half of the day. We've also talked about the second half of the day after lunch, which means that all students will be in either art or band. All students, right? And then students will have intervention work that they will complete. Now, science and social studies work is intended to be completed during the 2:35 to 3:20 time frame. Now, some days students may have tutoring, so it is up to them to be able to turn that in during that day. Honestly, these assignments are meant to take about 20 minutes at the most, so this is definitely doable even if a student has tutoring that day. Okay, so I want to go ahead and once again point out that they should be working on this daily. Okay, daily. If I go back to the home page, I can go to our work. Our work is always going to be under modules. As I've mentioned, modules are like folders that I can open and close. And what I have here is actually going to be two folders, one from last week, from the time that I'm recording this last week, week 9. And then we have our brand new folder for today, which is why you'll only see one assignment in there. Once again, students do have daily social studies work. So for example, if I click on last week's folder, you're going to see work for every single day that we had class. We were off on Monday, so there is no Monday there. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and focus on this folder from last week and the assignment from today to show you what the students should be doing. Now, last week, students started the week on Tuesday. Let me go ahead and click on that so we can see the instructions. The assignments for social studies are very simple, and very simple in the sense that they change only every 3 days. And what I mean by that is that students are either going to do the assignment this way, students are going to do the assignment this way, or the third set of instructions. And if we go beyond that, we're going to see that the instructions start repeating themselves. Okay, you may be wondering, well, how is that effective? Well, the reason is because what the information that they're using for these assignments is going to come from the news, CNN10.com, and being that the news changes daily, that work will change daily, right? And I have chosen to only do it one of 3 ways. That way the students are used to it as much as possible and are more successful. So if we go into the first way of doing our work, we have here the instructions. It says, review today's episode of CNN 10. I've gone ahead and linked it there. Keep in mind, it takes you to the most current news. So for example, even if this was an assignment from 2 weeks ago, if I click on that, it's going to take me to today's news. Well, it's taking a while to load, but it will be just a news segment that consists of about 3, maybe 4 stories at the most. Now, I do want to let you know that this is actually how, watching these news stories, this is how we begin our reading class every day. So the students will have already seen this by the time they do their social studies work. The purpose of me doing it at the beginning of the class is for us to watch it together. If students have questions about the news stories, they can ask me. I can also throw in some more information in there that's going to help them understand it, even if they're not asking questions. And the first step is to watch the entire report without pausing. Second step is to choose the story that they want to focus on. And the third step is to then collect details from that story, right? And once again, by the time they do this in the evening, this will have been the second time that they have seen this. The fourth step, this is where the instructions do tend to change every 3 days. It says choose a story from today's news, write a title for that news story, and answer these questions. Okay, so you're going to create a title and you're going to answer these questions. And then step 5, use your responses, your answers from these questions to then build a paragraph using complete sentences. Okay, and if that seems a little bit confusing, then what I do, what I always do, is I create a clear example of what the work should look like by the time that they turn it in. It says, example, the work you submit must contain 3 parts and look like the example below. So I had this color coded. In my instructions, I said, write a title for the news story. So I created one here as an example. In the green, answer these questions. Down here, we have the questions with the answers. Okay, and then the last step, use those answers to build a paragraph. And here I have what the paragraph should look like. Okay, as I mentioned, we have some students that are choosing to turn in maybe just the questions. That's incomplete. They may just write a 1-sentence summary. That is incomplete. That's definitely a 0, right? Or they're missing serious parts of the work. Or they turn in work that is clearly shows me that they did not go back and watch the story. Another option that I give students have the option of recording their answer through a video Flipgrid as opposed to typing their answer in. If they were to type their answer in, there would be a box up here that they press, and then they can go ahead and put that in there. So students that maybe struggle a bit with writing can jot down some of the information and then record a video from their answer. So that is an example from last week. The second way that we do this is always going to be same issues up here. We watch the story in the morning. I remind them of the instructions in the morning. And so when they do this in the evening, they're going to watch the story again, pick a story, gather facts and details, right? And then they are going to identify the problem in the story. Every story that we watch through CNN 10 has a problem in it, okay? And based off of that problem, students will then create a solution. So let me go ahead and reload this page because it does mention problem solution. And then once again, I have an example of what their work should look like by the time that they turn it in. So the problem should be identified. These should be complete sentences. It should be about 3 sentences long. The solution, they may find the solution in the story. Awesome. Or if the solution is not given in the story, I have explained to the students that the solution they will create on their own, a possible solution. Once again, I give them the option of recording a video or turning in text. If we go back to the modules, the third way that we do this is simply by creating questions. So once again, watch CNN 10, choose the story that we're going to focus on, gather facts and details, okay, and then this is where it differs. Create and write 2 sentences from the news that you would ask a partner or the whole class. Okay, we could even say that, pretend that you're going to quiz me, Mr. Cortés. So you need to create 2 questions from the story. One of the questions should have an answer that is easily found in the news story, while the second question should be a more difficult, deep thinking question. Write the answers to those questions as well. This shows me that they have a true understanding of the story and a true understanding of the question that they created. Be sure to use complete sentences and proper spelling. Okay, and here's an example once again. This is a simple question. By how much did some universities bring down the cost of tuition? It's an easy question because the answer is in the video and the narrator says they brought it down by 15 to 10%. Now, the second question, which is a more difficult question, what caused some schools to reduce their tuition? This answer is going to be an inference because they have to use clues from the story in order to answer it. Okay, once again, very simple. Like I said, these assignments should take 20 minutes at the most. At the most. So we went over the first, the second, and the third way of doing it. And if we go to Friday, we see that those instructions begin to repeat themselves again. The only thing that changes is going to be are going to be the news stories for that day. Okay. And as mentioned, students should be working on this independently. This is not a social studies class with the Zoom session. Students will be working on this independently from about 2:35 to 3:20. And if students have tutoring that day, then they need to continue to work on that after that time. I hope this clears up any questions or confusions about social studies work. It is very important to complete these assignments. These are also skills that help the students in reading as well and count for both social studies and reading grades. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Once again, here's my cell phone number, my email, and you could always use the inbox system within Canvas. Thank you very much.